shoot. Pullback, step back three. Bottom!
The handoff. Jones for the tie. Oh, he's fouled! And one! He's still loose. Doherty the heave. Oh, my God!
Southern Utah is going to do something they've never done. Go to the NCAA tournament.
What's up, everybody? The second episode of the Straight Outta Whack podcast on this Thursday morning. It is UT Arlington Lady Mavs basketball season preview week. We just did CBU with Rick Croy, the CBU men. But now we get, I want to say she's a college basketball legend. She's going to smile at that because she can hear me off screen right now. But we're going to bring in UTA women's basketball head coach, Shereka Wright. Shereka, how is it going this morning in Arlington?
Well, first of all, good morning, guys. So excited. Basketball season's right around the corner. So, it's buzzing. We're excited. The gym is loud. Balls are bouncing. So this is the type of season that we're all looking forward to.
I got to ask, I've seen videos. So we saw it last year. And then I saw one just a few days ago from a practice. You have this mantra of we're chasing rings. Like you say that in your team huddles. Is that just been always as a coach, or is that just kind of been since you got one with UTA a couple years ago that you've instilled that?
Well, yeah, I think that was something before I took the job, here at UTA when, Jim Baker gave me an opportunity to lead this program. Ultimate goal was to obviously develop young women, help them become the best student athlete that they possibly could. And then on top of it is to, bring in rings, have those rings on their finger and chase that. But it's a process. You have to, understand what that process is for you as your program, as a team, as a coach. And so when you, sign up to come play here and you devote that time to do that, you're chasing rings in the classroom, you're chasing rings on the court, you're chasing rings in the community. And so we believe in that. We preach that. And we stick with it, and it's worked for us.
I want to ask you a question about, you talk about chasing rings in the classroom. My dad was a coach for so long, and he believed that if you were in class and you were getting your grades and you were taking care of that a student may not have as much talent as, say, another student that was in and out of classes, that was struggling with their grades. That student that was getting their grades and doing what they're supposed to be doing might have better success on the court. They're able to handle adversity a little bit better. Do you see that in the college ranks? Like, have you ever noticed that impact, or is it kind of a little different than maybe high school wise?
No, I think it's a direct reflection, right, of how you have success. I think you all know this too, as you're growing up and your mom and your dad's talking about get up, make your bed. How you start your day matters, right? So it's the same thing applies when you're doing well in the classroom. That success follows you on the court. You're going to have success, and there's going to be days you may stumble, but majority of the time, you have that work ethic. It's going to pay off for you. And so I do believe that, and I'll tell you, I'm a direct reflection of that. It's been something that I've done, over the years. I've worked hard. All I know how to do is work hard. That's been instilled in me and my family, my principles. We grew up like you work hard, you put in the work, you're a good person, you do right by people, and success follows you. And I believe in that. And we do talk about that every day. That's been something that we talk about in this huddle. I've been talking about. And I know we'll get into that with this roster piece, but we've been talking about little things matter, small things. I've been saying little things to small things, right? And so it's every little thing matters. And that is get up, make your bed in the morning. You start off having a good day, go to class, right? And then do your best in that classroom. Speak to that professor when you walk in. If they don't speak to you, you enter the room, you speak. And so I think those things, again, lead to greater things, big things. And so they're a direct reflection of it all.
Okay. I told the fans when I introduced, and you heard me, that I'm going to bring up this Purdue connection. Okay. So I want to be the first to admit that when you guys entered the WAC, I didn't look up to see where you had played. I learned it after the season was over that you went to Purdue. And it's kind of cool because my grandpa played basketball at Purdue way back in the day. My dad's cousins, most of them that live in Indiana, went to Purdue. I have a couple of second cousins that went to Purdue. So they're all big Purdue fans. And you're a 3-time All-American from Purdue that took the Boilermakers to the NCAA Final Four. I believe you were named to the All-Tournament team. Is that right? Yeah, the Final Four All-Tournament team in 2001 as a freshman. So talk to me about living in West Lafayette, your time at Purdue, and where you see them now. Like, do you still, I'm sure you still follow them and are in constant contact with them. I just find it awesome that there's a connection here.
So first off, I was going to say I'm always Bowler up, down, in and out, everything, because that was obviously a big part of how this all started for me, and for me, Purdue, there were so many things that it taught me. I got to play with All-Americans with Katie Douglas, Kelly Kamara, Camille Cooper, and the tradition that followed with that. I remember watching 1999 with Stephanie White and Yukari Figs and watching that team and Carolyn Peck beat, obviously Louisiana Tech and then go and beat Duke in the finals there. And that was just amazing to me. Tennessee, that first round game, right, at Mackey. And so did I think that I was going to go to Purdue? No. I give Carolyn Peck a hard time about this all the time because we worked together at Vanderbilt. I was like, you didn't even recruit me. Like, how does that happen? And she's like, hey, we should recruit down there. So I understood that. And when Christy, Curry got that job, and I remember talking to my dad about this because, we have a lot of family in Indianapolis. My parents ended up, when my dad retired, moving to St. Louis. And I remember my dad was like, listen, 4 hours away, I think you should take a look at this. And I fell in love with it. Now, I'm not a big fan of the cold weather,
Sure.
That's just not. But everything about it just sat right with me. And I wanted to go be a part of something. I wanted to be a part of helping, especially going in as a freshman. I had the accolades, had all these different things, but I knew coming into it, I had to learn a lot about the process. So 4 years there was amazing. Went to the Final Four my first year there, played Notre Dame, lost in the finals to them with Nia Ivey. And after that, we won, so it was instilled. We knew what winning looked like. I knew what that looked like, whether it was conference, whether that was conference championships, regular conference, but went to the NCAA tournament every year. And something each year I learned about, again, adversity, what it looks like to win a championship. So that was awesome on top of the academics in the classroom. It really, really challenged me at another level. You go there and it's different from 120 hours where you're talking about 140 hours. So I was like, man, I'm going to be in school forever here. But it taught me a lot about discipline, and it taught me a lot about really, really, really working in that classroom at another level to have success on that court. And so, yes, a lot of great accolades to be able to be in the Hall of Fame there. It's amazing. Katie Geralds, who now is the head coach there, was my teammate for 1 year. So I am so excited for her. I know that program is going to continue to do very well. And so, I'm always rooting for them through and through. So I'm Bowler up all the way, every day.
Love it. Love it. Now, I was trying to look it up. I was curious. Were you there in the fall when Drew Brees was playing his last season there? Is that right?
Absolutely. So that's the time too when Coach Tiller was recruiting a lot in Texas. We had a lot of Texas players that were going to the Midwest to Purdue. And so, you had Jock Reeves and Drew Brees, and it was unbelievable, like, to be a part of that. They went to the Rose Bowl that year, and I'm not a big football fan, but I do remember, those things like that. And it was amazing. I mean, he obviously coming from Westlake and being able to go up there and playing in that system was great. And so that was a really big time connection because they were pulling a lot of student athletes from Texas going up to the Midwest and playing, at Purdue. So, you saw a lot of greatness just, in every sport that was happening at that time.
Yeah. Good times. I want to ask you one last question about West Lafayette. Did you ever go to Bruno's Pizza?
Yes.
Which is right down the street from. So my second cousin, Sean, his wife, Angela, her family owns that restaurant.
Really?
Yeah. So We've been to back there a few times in the last couple of years, and we always hit up Bruno's when we go back there. So I had to ask. It's
pizza.
one of those places that you have to go when you go to West Lafayette. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's unique, right? And so when you go in there, that's that one spot you must stop at when you go back to West Lafayette. So the next time that I'm there, actually, when I was there for my induction, I did go by Bruno's. Yeah, actually. So I know about that good pizza there.
Wack Eats people, if your teams ever go play at Purdue, Bruno's Pizza, just a recommendation. And we got a Purdue Hall of Famer that is recommending it. So I just want to throw that out. All right, let's talk a little bit about this roster schedule, stuff like that. Actually, you know what? We're going to talk first about your experience first season in the WAC. What's different from the WAC, from the Sun Belt to the WAC? What you kind of learned in terms of maybe recruiting thoughts, what you need to recruit, who you need to recruit, what kind of players, and just your experience overall in the WAC.
Yeah, so Kyle, I think you remember this. When we lost in that first round to Seattle, and I sat on that podium, and a couple of things that I wanted to, talk about was just how competitive the WAC was from top to bottom. When you're not in the league like that, or you don't hear about a lot of different teams, you just don't really know like the styles of play, or going into a new conference of how you have to prepare. Because to be honest with you, the Sun Belt, when I was hired here, we had that first year, and I talked about this, we had that similar year, that first year I was in there, where we lost in that first round. And I'm like, hey, there's some pieces that, we're missing, that we've got to make sure that we adjust and address in the next year. And we did that and had success that second year, and the Sun Belt ended up winning that. And so we were built for that, because the Sun Belt, we talked about athleticism, the styles of play, up transition. It was that we had to really get to competing, had to get a roster that could do that. But I thought we had a great mixture of that, with experience that year we won, athleticism, having a player that, players that could do different things, versatility. And I am big on size in all positions. And I felt we had that year we won, and had, really, had success in the NCAA tournament with that. And we go into year 3, and we utilize the transfer portal, as I think most coaches, would do at that time. What we didn't know, obviously, and I'll tell you some of the challenges that we had in the WAC, obviously trying to figure out the travel. Styles of play are different. Where we're in the Sun Belt, we could play a game on a Thursday, stay the night, rest, watch film, and then get on a bus and then travel to our next destination and be there and be fine. WAC was a little bit different. You're having to catch early flights to make sure you can get to places, letting our kids, we haven't been there before, hadn't been in the arenas before, where I think a lot of people feel like, does that really matter? It does matter. It does matter when you know the environment, you know what to expect, you know where to go eat at, you know where to go stay. Like all of those things, those little bitty things I've been talking about matter. Styles of play in the WAC are so different. And so when you're trying to prepare, you're doing, and say you're playing a Cal Baptist one night, and then you got to turn around and play, let's say you got to go play a Grand Canyon, different styles of play. And you're really trying to help your team prepare. And so with that, I thought we had some struggles with that in the season. I felt from top to bottom, I felt like our roster was talented. But I'll tell you, and this is one of the things, Kyle, I think and Daryl too, I talk about it too. I think for me as a coach, I grow through that, and I'm transparent. And we had a roster that I felt like that I did not do a good job of meshing together, especially through adversity, because I feel like top to bottom, we played some really, really great teams, and we have some really, really great coaches in our league. And the things that we did well in the Sun Belt, obviously defensively, we were very, very good defensively. We struggled with, last year, defending the 3. We just did not do a very good job. And I felt like inside, we just didn't really have enough to defend that. When you're talking about Star Jacobs and what she did so well for this league, there are challenges to where, again, having to play, different players within inside, that's different. And then on the perimeter, when you have grad transfers that come in, and usually it takes you a year to really get used to a league, where it matters when you've had players that have played together. And so we struggle with those things. And 14 and 17, we had a very challenging non-conference schedule, um, which I believe in those things. But you kind of learn from it because, again, having so many new faces, you have to be able to understand. Okay, leadership matters, right? Roles matter, and we have to be able to make sure that we address those things. So took notes as we went through the season last year, did that, reevaluated some things, made changes, made some very tough changes. And I feel like that's going to benefit us in the long run. Completely different looking roster, challenging myself, as a head coach, challenging my staff as assistant coaches. And then we brought in some players that we felt like I needed to coach that fit my culture and standards. And I'm excited about what we've put together.
Yeah, Shereka, you guys, obviously everybody knows about the additions of Talia Clark and Avery Brittingham, interconference transfers. But I want to hear about some of these transfers you've added. You added of really efficient 3-point shooters in this class. So just talk about some of the newcomers we can expect to see on the floor right out of the gates.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about the transfer portal piece, right? And one of the things that I looked at is that that's hard about the portal. I think everybody can sit here and say it is hard to know whether or not that player can fit into your system. And there were a couple of things for me. I told our staff, let's kind of just go in a different route. We will tap into the transfer portal, but I like you just talked about with Talia and Avery. We saw those players. I got a chance to really, really see what they did for their programs. They came from, obviously, Avery came from winning. She knows what winning looks like. That was important for me. And then Talia, obviously, again, their records may not have been indicative of winning, but they had been in a lot of games. Their system and what Susie did there was really big. And so I said, hey, let's tap into JUCO. I feel like that is something that we probably need to address a little bit more. And when you look at the roster, a lot of our players that we got, was in those JUCO national championship. They were played deep into that. And so, you look at Callie Haslip that was at Southern Idaho, loved her body. This is a kid that we saw late in Lubbock. She was a freshman there. And I loved her versatility. I feel like she's a 3-level scorer. Her body build comes in perfect for us within the WAC, the physicality that she can be able to play on the wing and play inside. I think that would be really, really good for us. Ari Lee came from Moberly, long athletic player. Again, came from a system that she could do three-level score. As you're going to see me talking about this, I feel like we need a versatility. We need players that can score at all 3 levels. We did not shoot the ball particularly well, as last year. And I looked at our league, and that's what we saw a lot of. And we obviously, when we did this roster, again, Star Jacobs was in the middle. We needed to put players around her that could really keep the floor spread and keep people honest. I felt like she could do that as well, too. We added Hannah Humphrey that came from Blendrian College. Again, high prolific scorer. She can shoot the ball. We love the size of her, and then we love the athleticism, and she's got the quickness piece. But then we tapped into the transfer portal again and did some different things. We added Mango Mutanda that came from Jacksonville State. Again, played, in junior college, had success there, won a championship there. We added Gia Adams that came from Tennessee State. That was the OVC Freshman of the Year. And then, we added some inside. We needed some inside presence, right? We went and got Adela Valkova that came from UTEP. And then we added DJ McFarland that came from Tennessee Tech that was in the NCAA tournament. So with that, Daryl, players that know what winning looks like and they understand the process. And I think the biggest thing with all of this is that the culture piece. And I asked those things. We talked about that. I really hit on a lot of different things when we brought them here on campus. We spent time in the film room. We talked about things. I wanted to really know what the 3 things that was important to them. If I didn't hear culture, how can I help my team win? Whatever I need to do to help my team win, I just really wasn't interested in that because I felt like we can help develop these players. helped them develop into another role that we needed them to play here. And I felt from top to bottom, even with our freshmen, I felt really, really good about that. And so I felt like those are the things we were missing last year, and I feel like we have that now.
The uniqueness in having to recruit now that the COVID year's kind of going away, that extra year for the COVID, the transition to maybe getting back to recruiting freshmen, high school seniors and stuff like that. Like, how fine is that balancing act that you kind of have to walk to determine, like you said, that culture that you're trying to build?
Well, it's really, really important, Kyle. Again, I look at it at this level compared to the Power Five, and that's the really good thing about me and a lot of other coaches. I got a chance to spend a lot of time at Power Five, but in those jobs I was in at Texas Tech and Alabama, even at Vanderbilt, those were rebuilding. We were rebuilding programs. And what I learned from Christy Curry, we had to mix that in. We had to, until we could get the right players, like with freshmen, we had to go get some junior college, players. We had to go get some kids within the transfer portal that had success. And it worked for us at Texas Tech. It took us some time, but it worked for us. It worked for us at Alabama. And Christy Curry obviously understands that. And I took that piece. At Vanderbilt, it's a little bit different, right? You're looking academically. There's some different things. There's some challenges of taking junior college players. So we had to really, really tap into, okay, can we get one or two freshmen, one that is a top, 70 player? And then can we get some role kids that are going to be hard-nosed? They're going to work hard. They're going to be high-character kids. And as we start to build this, they've been in the system. And obviously you need an AD that understands the process, is going to give you time to do that. That's going to work for you. That's been the same thing that's here for us. I feel at the mid-level, what you're going to deal with is that I don't think you have time to really take a lot of freshmen. You don't have time for that. And so it's, hey, get one or two. And then as your season starts to go on, as they become juniors and sophomores and juniors, hopefully they stay in your system. Because when you have success, right, you always got something that's kind of tugging at you. That's the life that we're living right now, right? You have success at the mid-level, you're going to have a lot of other institutions, Power Fives. I'm like, oh man, let's go get this kid because they've had success. So you're really, really trying to instill a culture, a relationship, to where they will stay in that they grow and they develop. So it's going to kind of help you to be able to compete for championships every year.
Let's break down the schedule, Daryl. I know you got questions about it, so let's bring those questions.
Yeah, Shereka, another really good job on the scheduling front. First off, I want to hit on your WAC CUSA Alliance matchups. A rematch with New Mexico State, and I believe it's Jacksonville, if memory serves.
Yes.
Jacksonville State. Yep.
Yes.
Talk about those two matchups and the WAC CUSA Alliance in general, and your thoughts on the two conferences combining to maybe help each other out in a scheduling front.
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, I think that's great to be able to be a part of a challenge, because it gives you, opportunities to play different styles of, of teams that you may not always get to see within the WAC. And, I kind of laughed. I was like, man, you get a team that you just played in your conference and then you got to play them again. But that's a good thing. Obviously, Jody, a lot of respect for her. Her teams are defensive minded. They're tough. We struggled there when we went there last year. Did not play our game was not very good there at all. And so, what we look to see from her, again, a team that's going to challenge us defensively, that's going to really challenge us to be tough and to have to be able to execute. So I love that matchup. I love the fact that, again, you have somebody that you're familiar with already, that you got to get to prepare for it. That's always a hard thing, right? Because, we got that and you got to go into, WAC and got to play a team within the WAC. But at least we kind of already know, scouting wise, the style of play for, from Jody and New Mexico State. So definitely excited about that. And then we go to Jacksonville State and go down there to play down in Alabama. Obviously when I had my time at Alabama, we played and played Jacksonville State. Again, different styles of play, but again, athletic. You're going to be able to do some different things. It's going to challenge us. And you're on the road. I think that you build a lot about your team when you can compete on the road and win on the road. That second year when we had success, we had a lot. We won on the road. and it challenges your team. And so I think that's kind of what we focused on a little bit there. So I think that that's a great combination of two teams that, very similar in style, that want to get up and down the floor and that will defend you with that. So I like that we have that in our challenge.
Yeah, I'm looking at the schedule. I mean, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3 non-conference home games. That's quite a schedule, and not one non-division 1 game. Like I'm gonna clap to that because I know teams want to get home games. I know that's one thing that I like to see is challenge yourselves with Division 1 games, opponents that are going to impact your net. And in the terms of WAC, they're going to impact your WAC resume seeding system, give you more opportunities. So I applaud that big time. In terms of schedule too, I want to ask, do you like that you have 2 WAC games? I mean, early on, let's see, November 29th, you get Abilene Christian in Abilene, in West Texas, and then you get Grand Canyon back at College Park Center on December 2nd. Do you like having those 2 and then having a little bit break, or would you just prefer all of them kind of together?
Well, 2 things, and I wanted to kind of go back, Kyle, to your point about the home games. Well, when we start talking about the scheduling, the WAC did, so you're looking at 20 games that you've already gotten, scheduled for yourself. It does make scheduling a little bit tougher for you. Like, you really sit down with your assistant coach and look at this, and we got to be very strategic on how we schedule things. Where you're looking at the building, can we get these games? And it was difficult to be able to be honest with you to really kind of look at that. And so we really made sure that we focused on where we're playing at. You got guarantee games. There's a lot of things that go into that you got to make sure that fits your team and you don't put your team in such a hole.
Right.
It's going to be interesting. I've never done this before, right? You're playing 2 conference games and then you got a break and you're coming back to it. I know the ACC does it a lot. And so this is also another challenge for all of us now. Like, how do we do this? We dive into conference and then we go back out of conference. But again, I think that it helps us, because I would tell you, if I had to do this last year, I don't know how we would have kind of responded to it, because we'd never seen, we had never seen the teams before. I think now we know what to expect. We did not play very well at Abilene Christian, so we know how to prepare for that now. And then obviously we know it's always great battles, obviously with Molly when we come here with Grand Canyon. And so we'll know how we're preparing for that. And it does matter that you do have 2 players that have been in the conference, that knows what to expect, to help a team that have so many new players on it to help prepare them for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how, this year, I believe it's 22 of your 31 games are basically already determined for you because you add on those 2 WAC CUSA games. So you're looking at the schedule 9 other non-conference games, which, like you said, you have to be strategic about. I will say I may be coming to College Park Center when you host Lamar University on November 10th for homecoming weekend.
Yeah, we gotta get you a shirt, Kyle. It's homecoming.
Yeah, I'm trying to work it out. I still have to talk to my wife, my loving wife. So we'll see if we can make that planned out. I do want to throw something out that I just learned today. It is Shereka Wright's birthday. So happy birthday, Shereka Wright.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, dear. I appreciate it.
That's some good stuff. I'm glad that we got you on this day so we could give you a happy birthday shout out. Daryl, do you have any final questions for Shereka before we let her get back to her team and practice and prepping? We're less than 50 days away from tips, so she's got a lot on her plate right now.
Year 2 in the WAC. I'm curious to know how your team will have a better grasp of the traveling situation. Obviously, you have players from Seattle and SFA who know those cities. But after one go-around, do you really have a full grasp of how to travel in the WAC, where to eat, where to stay, how to prepare your team? Because, Thursday, Saturday, like you mentioned it, starting out, say, hypothetically at CBU and then going to, GCU or Seattle on that same trip, that's a tough trip. And then to fly home and then play, say, an SUU or a Abilene Christian. So do you guys really feel like after one go around, you have a good handle on the travel in the WAC?
I mean, very good question, Daryl. I would say yes, but then I think about it. Last year, there were some places that we didn't go.
Right. Yep.
And so now, wherever everybody's having to play each other, twice. And so, we didn't go to Southern Utah last year. And so we don't really know what that's like. And so, I would sit here and tell you, I'll be lying to you and say, oh yeah, we got it, but I'm not going to say that. No, I don't necessarily say that we got it. I think that we have half of that. I think that we know how we probably need to travel, whether we, leave in the morning or how we talk to different teams about times that we do play. I think that that's been some of the things that we've talked about with each team. Do we look to start games earlier so we give each other a chance to be able to get out and get to the next place instead of not having to spend an additional night places? You're talking about academics and where, your kids getting tired mentally. So I think all of those things play a factor. How do you really help your team navigate through that? Because travel, I'm away from my bed. This is not the norm sleeping. It's all different. And so it just takes a lot of creativity, thinking outside the box. How do you keep your players engaged? But I'll tell you, team building has been big for me this year. We did not do that. I've not done that since I've been here. And I had Markeisha Grant that came in that played at South Carolina for Don Staley, who understands that piece. And we really challenged our kids on some different things mentally. And I think that that's going to help us along the way, Daryl, as we go through this. But it's about one game at a time. I thought we kind of overlooked some things because we're just trying to prepare. But we're just going to really take it one game at a time and be the best that we can be at that very moment, be where our feet are.
I think we're going to have another podcast episode in late February after that trip to Southern Utah and Utah Tech, so you could tell us how you managed that trip. I'm very interested because Cedar City is not the easiest place to get to. I'm not going to worry you with that now, but I just wanted to put that on your plate that Cedar City is not the easiest place to get to.
Well, we're going to be there we're going to be spending a whole entire week there because of where our game fell at. So we obviously going to have a little time to be able to travel. But hey, listen, I told our kids we will not make excuses. Yep. We will not do that. We will accept what we have in front of us. And hey, we will deal with it as it comes.
All right, Shereka, since it's your birthday, I got to ask. Favorite cake or cupcake that somebody, if they're listening to this, that they can say happy birthday and present you with something, or when you have birthday cake later today, or maybe your team presents it, like what's your favorite? What's your go-to?
Oh, it's confetti cake, of course.
Confetti cake is awesome.
I'm a big kid through and through. I went to go see Barbie last night, and for the first time, the only one in the theater, so it was awesome. So that's my little deal. Like, if anybody wanted to know a fun fact about me, I love Barbies, love video games. I'm a kid. Listen, She-Ra, all that stuff. People probably don't remember that and stuff, but you guys probably do. But yeah, I'm big. Confetti all the way through.
Confetti cake. You'll have to ask my wife. That's one of my favorites all time. Gosh, the connection is there. Do you see this? This is awesome. This is why we have great podcast episodes. UT Arlington Lady Mavs head coach Shereka Wright. Thank you so much for joining us on your birthday. Go enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Have up.
Thanks for listening to the Straight Outta Whack podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Whack Hoops Digest and Facebook under Whack Hoops Digest for all your Whack Hoops news and information.